last example talking about the definition of a function. We've looked at a picture relationship. We've looked at a table of values showing a relationship. We've looked at a graph relationship. Now we're going to actually look at a couple different equations. Again, an equation is a relationship between x and y, specifically showing you how they're related in the pattern. But we're going to look at one of them as a function, one of them is not. It's a little bit trickier to see it in an equation because you have to be much better at using the algebra. You can't just see the function or not. But we'll get into how you can tell. We'll get into using equations and how equations can also be a function or not a function. So let's take a look at this first equation here on the left. Y equals 3x plus 1. So what this is saying is the relationship between x and y, take whatever I input in for x, multiply it by 3, add 1, and then that's the y value that you get associated with it. So let's try if x equals 1. Let's just play with some numbers. If x equals 1, then y equals 3 times 1, because I'm substituting 1 in for x, plus 1. And 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 equals 4. So if I wanted to put that in point form, that first equation, if x equals 1, it looks like I get back 4. Now let's think about what we have here. For an equation to be a function, every input value has to have exactly only one output value. So let's think, I input a value of 1 into this equation for x, and I get an output value of 4 right here. That's my y value. Am I going to get back any other output value for y? If I put in 1, do I always get back 4, or do I sometimes get back something else? Well, clearly we can see according to this relationship here, 3 times 1 plus 1, there's only one possible solution to that or computation to that. It's going to turn into 4. So just from that first point, I'm looking at, yeah, I'm thinking this might be a function. It looks so far like whatever I put in is just going to give me one value back. Let's try something else. What if I put in x equals negative 5? So does y equal 3 times negative 5 plus 1? That's going to be negative 15 plus 1 gives me negative 14. Again, there's my input, and I'm getting an output value. So in terms of plotting a point, if x is negative 5, I get back negative 14. And I'm feeling pretty confident even here. If I calculate it out, whenever I input negative 5, I'm only going to get back negative 14. There's no way I can calculate that to get something else back. So this is so far showing an example of a function. This is what we'll actually call it. This is a linear function. We'll see that when we graph them, they form lines. There's a certain linear pattern to it, but it is a linear function. This does show a function relationship. Okay, the next one's kind of fun. This is actually equation right here, x squared plus y squared. This is the equation of a circle with a radius of square root of 5. So we can graph it. It's a relationship. It's actually kind of a nice relationship. Eventually you'll get into some circles and geometry in algebra 2. But for now, it's an equation that'll kind of show us some fun stuff here. So let's take a look and show how this one is actually not a function. We'll pick some numbers here. Let's do the same thing here. Let's put in x equals 1. And let's see what y has to be to make this work out. So I'm going to put 1 in for x, 1 squared, plus some value for y squared has to equal 5. Well, I can do a little bit of computation here. 1 squared is 1. So 1 plus some value for y squared equals 5. And I can kind of see that, okay, 1 plus, to get 5, I have to have 1 plus 4. So this y squared here has to be 4. Now there's a couple ways do you get it? Probably C1 would be if y is 2. All right, so we can see that does 1 squared plus 2 squared equal 5? Yeah, that's true. 1 squared plus 2 squared, that's 1 plus 4 equals 5. So that's true. Good. So if x is 1 and y is 2, that's a point that satisfies this equation right here. But if you're smart, or if you're on top of it, you may also realize, well, if I square something, squaring a negative number also turns it positive. What happens if y is negative 2? Well, does 1 squared plus negative 2 squared equal 5? Well, 1 squared is 1. Negative 2 squared is the same as negative 2 times negative 2, which turns into positive 4. Negative times a negative is positive, and 1 plus 4 does equal 5. So it looks like when x is 1, another solution to that equation is if y equals negative 2. And now you can probably see why this is not a function. On one hand, I can input 1 and get an output of 2, and that makes it true. But on the other hand, I can input 1 and get an output of negative 2, and that also makes it true. So we got two outputs, so not a function. It's a nice circle, but this does not show a relationship that I can call a function.